In the past year, a few of my buddies and I have shared 40 Fun NES games that can still be found for under $10 in 2020 and 2021. It's crazy to think how many fun games still exist for under 10 clams on Nintendo's heralded 35-year-old console, and EC Myers, Omega Ace Gaming, dezm 101, The Game Beaters, and I have 10 more addictive classics that won't break the bank. Check them out.
Captain Skyhawk is a game from 1990 published by Milton Bradley and developed by Rare. It's a shoot-'em-up game, but it's more of a westernized version of a shoot-'em-up game, so it doesn't follow some of the other conventions that you might see in normal shoot-'em-ups. It has a unique art style that uses an isometric kind of pseudo 3D look on the landscapes. It has a nice amount of creative bad guys and foes that you have to face off against and some mini-bosses, as well as it has different mission types that you have to fly, from destroying a base, dropping off supplies to a scientist, to rescuing the scientist. And this is done with the goal of assembling a special weapon to face off against the final boss. Each of the levels has a bonus stage in between them, where you go fly in a mini game kind of like Afterburner, and you have to shoot down planes and avoid missiles. This helps to break up the action a bit and give you a change of gameplay between the stages. It's a pretty nice change of pace. Between each level, you also get to dock with the space station, where you can go ahead and refill your special attack missiles, as well as upgrade your gun. So that's pretty handy. Just make sure to line up correctly when you dock with the space station. Overall, the game isn't too hard. It has a decent bit of variety, but you'll probably finish it pretty quickly. The challenge isn't really very high. And so it's a nice casual game just to pick up and play when you've got a bit of time to kill. And it's a lot of fun, I think.
Spy vs. Spy is an action strategy game based on the cartoon of the same name, ripped from the pages of Mad Magazine. It's a race between two spies to escape an embassy and get to the airport with money, a secret paper, a passport, the key to the secret exit, and a briefcase to hold them in. These are hidden in various rooms behind pictures and furniture, but as you search for them and the way out, you may uncover booby traps instead. Each time you trigger a trap, you lose time. Fortunately, you can also lay traps for the other player to slow them down, or you can duke it out the old-fashioned way. The game's mechanics are fairly involved, so make sure you look up the manual or watch Nefarious Wes's excellent video overview. One of the game's standout features is its unique split-screen layout, which allows for two players' simultaneous competition, and that's where the real fun lies, since it won't take you long to best your computer opponent. But even if you don't have any friends, with 8 different layouts of increasing complexity and many different strategies to employ, Spy vs. Spy is a surprisingly good time.
Released in North America for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1990, Bad Dudes vs. DragonNinja has heroes Blade and Striker saving President Ronnie from ninja kidnappers. If you're able to look past the arcade conversion's choppy animation and cringy digitized speech, there is fun to be had here, as Bad Dudes pits you and a buddy against hordes of unique enemies and bosses, most notably Data East's title character Karnov, across 7 stages. Not limited to using their punches and leg sweeps,
sweep the leg.
Blade and Striker are able to collect knives and nunchucks from fallen enemies, which help balance the overall difficulty. And with the built-in 64 lives code, players are given the tools necessary to practice and master this title. And what better way is there to enjoy this game's underrated soundtrack? At under $8, Bad Dudes is a fun title to pick up every now and again, and it helps you answer the difficult question: are you a bad enough dude to rescue the president?
I'm bad.
Not a lot of people think of pinball games when they think of NES, but there are quite a few titles that are pinball games, and a couple of them are pretty great. Today, we'll focus on High Speed. It's a game developed by Rare, and it's a recreation of the famous table by Williams from 1986. In this game, you have to run red lights and evade cops. When you do so correctly, you can escape from the cops, which earns you a multi-ball. Otherwise, you can get busted. The table is a pretty faithful recreation in 8-bit, and it still holds up pretty well. I think it's a lot of fun to play. There are some extra hazards on the screen, such as tumbleweeds that can catch the ball and throw it into the gutter, or a bomb that comes down and can destroy your flippers. Some of the coolest parts about the game is there are extras and bonus games you can enter. If you collect 3 helicopters or 3 safes, you can enter one of these mini games. One of them resembles RC Pro-Am, like a tiny miniaturized version. And the other one is a pachinko style game, which is a lot of fun, but it can take a little long sometimes. Overall, I find myself playing this game quite a lot, and I think it's a good deal for the price if you like pinball games.
A game that I can only describe as a literal race against time. Square's Rad Racer has players drive their choice of a Ferrari 328 or a Formula 1 race car across 8 different tracks, all while jamming to their choice of 3 songs that they can change at the press of a directional button. Several of the stages, such as the San Francisco Highway, Grand Canyon, Ruins of Athens, and Los Angeles Nightway, are based off real-world locations, making the races that much more memorable. Being one of the 2 Square titles that use anaglyph-based 3D, with the 3D battles of World Runner being the other, Rad Racer adds a unique aesthetic appeal to an already fantastic game. With the difficulty spiking during the second half of the game and Zero continues, this classic 8-bit racer pushes players to drive the maximum speed of 255 kilometers an hour, particularly in the last level where one mistake can lead you to a game over. If you want a challenging racing game at a more than reasonable price, look no further than Rad Racer.
Before taking on Liquid Snake and Shadow Moses, I was breaking necks in Outer Heaven on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Unlike other 8-bit adventure-styled games at the time, Metal Gear focuses on stealth and avoiding the enemy undetected. Tossed in the southern African jungle with nothing more than a pack of smokes. Ugh. Every weapon and item collected is essential in uncovering the vile plot to overthrow a terrorist organization hell-bent on taking over the world. You level up in rank by rescuing POWs, use a mine detector to navigate arduous minefields, take on tanks, and take on an assortment of unusual bosses. Of course, the game isn't without its quirks. We're all aware of the bad English, the Stephen King length passwords, the sometimes janky mechanics, and switching key cards to access doors is about as fun as cutting one while hiding in your own cardboard box. But the soundtrack is killer, the gameplay is rewarding, and the story, albeit a bit broken, adeptly falls under the archetypal Cold War narrative of the 1980s. Don't feel asleep on this one. When people talk about the best beat-em-ups on the NES, the discussion must invariably lead to P.O.W, Prisoners of War. Another SNK title with a military aesthetic, P.O.W ditches the firearms of Kari warriors in favor of the fisticuffs. The game boasts of 5 huge stages, riddled with an array of disillusioned soldiers expertly skilled in hand-to-hand combat. You're only allotted with a small number of moves, including a jump kick and backhand. These are augmented only by the various weapons that are dropped by the enemy, including knives, knuckle dusters, and a rifle.
Clear a path, you motherfucker!
Prisoners of War is a pretty challenging game, and with this one unfortunately only being a one-player affair, despite having 2 dudes on the cover, it'll take a lot of practice to master this one. With excellent graphics, a catchy-as-hell soundtrack, and enormous levels, P.O.W just may be the best 8-bit brawler out there for the NES under $10. I had really mixed feelings about StarTropics the first time I had played it. At first glance, it borrows heavily from The Legend of Zelda with its heart life meter and HUD. You even explore labyrinths and collect items to aid you in your quest. All of this was right up my alley. So my gripe? The controls. Oh god, how I hated them. After I beat StarTropics for the first time in '93, I swore that I would never play it again. Those controls. Like you're set on tiles with banana peels for shoe soles. Ah, StarTropics.
It's a lovely relationship!
But I did play it again, and again. And once you get used to the wonky controls and mechanics, this island adventure is loads of fun. The game is peppered with an abundance of secrets and hidden paths. It doesn't take itself seriously, with lots of tongue-in-cheek humor sprinkled throughout. The music is super catchy and complements the environment perfectly. And the game offers a fair challenge that'll have you groaning, okay, one more time, as you dive back in for more. And for under $10, StarTropics is worth every cent. And while locating a copy with the secret note that was originally included with the game may be as scarce as a good cola joke, everything that you need to enjoy this one is readily available online.
Aside from a handful of notable titles, most NES games based on movies get a bad rap, because they're usually terrible. That's maybe why you passed up the Rocketeer, but I have to tell you, this game is actually pretty okay. Just okay? What do you expect for under $10? Whether you're a big fan of the Disney film and or Jennifer Connelly like I am, this game is a solid action platformer that feels a bit like a poor man's Batman from Sunsoft. It has everything: running, jumping, punching, and shooting. You start with just your wits and your fists, but can choose from a variety of weapons such as a pistol, rifle, spray gun, hand grenade, and bazooka. But wait, this game's called The Rocketeer, so don't you get to fly? Kind of. We were promised jetpacks, but your rocket is used sparingly and for a limited time. You can only use it when you find fuel in certain areas. Boo. Gameplay is pretty formulaic, often requiring you to find your way through a labyrinthine level and memorize enemy placement and patterns. The graphics won't dazzle anyone, but this game has cutscenes loosely following the movie's plot, a password, and some great music too. I'd say it's worth it for the death animation alone. Check it out.
So that's 10 more fun NES games for under... Wait, that's only 9. Dan B from the Game Beaters has one final game to plug. Alright, let's see what he has for us.
So there I am, at home, taking a dump, when I get a message from the Nefarious Wes himself, inviting me to be a part of the Fun NES Games for Under $10 series. Well, being a huge fan of the NES, and someone who respects the work of Wes, I'd sprung off the toilet and jumped at the chance to discuss a fun NES game you can get for under 10 bones. Immediately, I thought of Metal Gear, but since that one's pretty good and probably already taken, I decided to have a backup. Metal Gear 2, Snake's Revenge? Well, it almost fits the criteria. It's usually under 10 clams, but let's face it, that game sucks. By all means, put it in your collection and it looks cool on the shelf, but so does my dog turd piggy bank. I know that joke was pretty tasteless. Yeah, I called myself out. What do you want from me, a cookie? Hey, that's it. I have Yoshi's Cookie on the shelf, and I've never even played it. Let's give that one a go. Yoshi's Cookie opens up with Mario carrying this box around. I guess, by his expression, it contains a cookie? He tries to get the lid off, and instead gets pissed off and storms off screen. Enter Yoshi, who's like, someone just left this cookie container sitting out. Screw opening it. I'm gonna eat it up. Mario then comes at Yoshi like a madman. We all know Mario likes to beat Yoshi on the head, just to make Yoshi open up its mouth, but here he's ready to smash Yoshi's skull with a hammer. We don't get to see what happens to poor Yoshi, but Mario somehow comes out with an empty cookie jar. This game could be brutal. Alright, let's start it up. So all of a sudden Mario walks out with jazz hands, wearing a chef's uniform, controlling cookies on a conveyor belt, I guess. The object here is simple. Line up rows of cookies either horizontally or vertically to make them disappear. Once you've cleared the screen of cookies, you move on to the next stage. The challenge here is as you progress, the walls of extra cookies coming in grows bigger. So, you have to think fast and decide how you're going to line up your cookies just right before the next chain of cookies hits. There is relief, as for every time you make a row disappear, the incoming cookies also leave the screen. So where is Yoshi in all of this? Well, here is his pivotal role in the game, which is using the Yoshi namesake. Yoshi is a cookie shape. Yep, that's it. Mario, being the greedy tyrant that he is, steals the show yet again and lets Yoshi play second fiddle. But hey, at least the Yoshi cookie is a wild card, meaning you can use it to complete any row of cookies. For every 10 rounds you beat, you get to watch a Pac-Man-like cutscene. Well, this one's lame, but they get a little better each time. And I lost. But it's worth it, just to see Chef Mario facepalm. You know, once you get the hang of it, this game's actually pretty fun. Yoshi's Cookie gets your mind moving, in the same way something like Tetris does. So if you enjoy that kind of game, this is worth the price of admission. Now, if you'll excuse me, all those cookies made me have to use the restroom again. Only this time, I'm hoping for a Yoshi shape to come out the other end.
Okay, 10 more fun NES games that can still be found for under $10 today. And there were some bangers on this list. Big thanks to E.C. Myers, Omega Ace Gaming, The Game Beaters, and dezm 101 for their contributions to this video. Thanks a lot, guys. Make sure to check out their awesome channels. Links in the description below. As always, Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you guys later.